Venom number 12 was published a few days ago, and it continued with the interesting events of this run, which I consider among the best in Venom's history. We last saw how Eddie Brock collapsed from what was thought to be cancer. The Ultimate Universe Reed Richards, known as the Maker, tried to separate Eddie from the Venom. During the process, Eddie learned that Venom falsified his illness, as he never had a cancer, or a sister, or an uncle who died of cancer, but he does have a son named Dylan. The book opens with a stormy night 9 years ago. Anne Weying went to Carl Brock's house in San Francisco holding a baby boy. When Carl asks what happened, she explains that Eddie had transferred the Venom symbiote to her in order to save her life, transforming her into the monstrous she-Venom. And for a moment, they were bonded to it, connected mentally and physically to each other. After the symbiote returned to Eddie, Anne found she was mysteriously pregnant, giving birth to the boy in her arms, who she named Dylan. She begs Carl to look after Dylan, saying that they both know that Eddie is a monster and can never know that he has a son, and that Carl is her only family left. Carl takes the baby, and Anne runs off, promising she will return for Dylan once she is recovered from her psychological trauma, though she never does, and ultimately takes her own life. In the present, the Maker says that Eddie won't survive being separated from the Venom symbiote. Encased in a web of sonic energy, Eddie tells him to turn it up and mentally berates Venom for having manipulated him, given him cancer, and betrayed his trust. The Maker complies and separates the symbiote from Eddie, dodging as the Venom breaks free and smashes the Maker's machine, which explodes. Driving away from the hospital, Carl Brock tells Dylan that he can't run away and apologizes for hurting him when he lost his temper, warning his grandson that Eddie is not a good person. Dylan says that at least Eddie recognizes that fact and is honest about it, unlike Carl, who is enraged by that insult and moves to slap Dylan. Suddenly, the car jolts, slamming Carl's face into the steering wheel. He looks into the mirror to see that Venom has grabbed onto the back end of the car and is lifting it off the ground. Carl confronts Venom, threatening to call the police, but he is grabbed by the throat and lifted off the ground. He begs for mercy and promises not to hurt Dylan anymore, but Venom glares at him before sticking his tendrils into Carl's mouth and eyes. Carl finds himself in a prison interrogation room, handcuffed to a table, and demands for someone to let him go. Eddie steps out of the shadows and tells his father that this is the same room where he once beat him, because he wanted to plead guilty for killing an innocent child. Carl refuses to admit his role in making Eddie the monster he became, saying Eddie's choices were his own. Transforming into Venom, Eddie smashes the table and slams his father into the wall, saying that he doesn't have the right to judge him. He snarls that he knows he is a monster, but he is trying to be a better person, which is why he is talking to Carl instead of eating him alive. Eddie states that he knows that Dylan is his son and refuses to let Carl hurt him any longer. He tells his father that he didn't come to ask for forgiveness, saying that he is taking Dylan and that if Carl tries to stop him, he is dead. Eddie then breaks their mental connection, so Carl regains his consciousness on the side of the road in the desert outside San Francisco and apologizes for what happened. Dylan wakes up to find Venom carrying him into the hospital. He asks what Eddie is doing as Venom sets him down and walks away. When Dylan asks if Eddie is abandoning him, Venom says that he is trying to be better, but that both of them will be better without him around. Dylan is confused until he hears a sound coming from the wreckage where the Maker had been operating on Eddie, and enters to see his father just regaining consciousness, where the unconscious Maker is cocooned to the ceiling. Dylan tells Eddie that the symbiote rescued him before leaving. Elsewhere in the city, Venom uses his ability to shapeshift, disguises itself as a human, and vanishes into the crowd. Let me know what you think about the fate of Eddie Brock after he is separated from the Venom. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Thanks for watching, and have a nice one.